There comes a moment in every person's life when the world around them falls silent, when the noise of distractions, desires, and fears becomes dim for just a moment, and in that brief stillness, soul speaks, and what the soul whispers is not complicated, it is not poetic or dramatic, it is simple. It says, Laillahaillaiah, not simply as a phrase, not as something memorized since childhood, not as something repeated out of habit, but as the deepest truth of existence. The soul recognizes the one who created it. The soul knows exactly where peace is. And the soul tries to call you back to that peace again and again, even when your mind is overwhelmed and your heart is tired. But often that whisper is drowned out because the world teaches us to look everywhere except inward. We chase the next achievement, the next compliment, the next moment of attention. We want to be seen, validated, appreciated. Yet the soul does not want any of that. The soul wants him. The soul finds rest in his remembrance. When the soul says Laillahaillaiah, it is reminding you that nothing in this world deserves your desperation, your stress, your anxiety, your sleepless nights. Nothing has power over you, not people, not failures, not the difficulties of your past except Allah. There are people who appear to have everything: money, influence, relationships, opportunities. But ask them when they are alone, ask them in the quiet hours of the night, ask them whether their hearts are satisfied. When the heart is disconnected from its creator, no amount of worldly comfort can fill that void. And when the heart is connected to him, even the smallest blessings feel abundant, and the greatest hardships feel bearable. This is why the soul keeps calling. It knows where home is. Sometimes we ignore that call because we think we are too busy. We say, I'll reconnect later. I'll pray properly when life becomes easier. I'll fix myself when I have more time. But the truth is that life will never slow down. Responsibilities will not disappear. Struggles will not step aside. It is in the middle of the storm that the soul calls to you the loudest. Because that is when you need remembrance the most. It calls you when you feel lost, when you feel exhausted, when you feel like you are failing. Not to shame you, not to criticize you, but to remind you that you were never alone. That whisper of Laillahaillaiah, is not just recognition of God's oneness, it is recognition of your purpose. It is the soul telling you, return to who you were meant to be. It is the soul telling you to stop giving your energy to things that drain you and redirect it to the one who strengthens you. It is the soul telling you that peace does not come from running away from struggle, but from grounding yourself in the one who controls every outcome. And when you answer that call, even softly at first, the world begins to look different. Your challenges become meaningful. Your pain becomes transformation. Your efforts start aligning with something greater. Your heart becomes calmer because your soul is no longer whispering. It is at rest. The soul does not call you to exhaustion. It calls you to life. Laillahaillaiah. Many times we say, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I don't have the energy. But if we pause and look deeper, we find that the problem is not exhaustion of the body, it is exhaustion of the spirit. The body gets tired when it works, yes, but it becomes energized again when given rest. The spirit, however, becomes tired when we live in contradiction to what it was created for. The soul was created for remembrance, for meaning, for devotion, for purpose. And when we deny it these things, when we drift into distraction, inconsistency, and avoidance, the soul becomes weary. Then we mislabel that weariness as physical tiredness, when in reality it is simply the result of a lack of discipline. It is the consequence of living without direction. There are people who work long hours, who endure hardship, who struggle with challenges far greater than ours. Yet they rise every morning with strength in their eyes and steadiness in their steps. And then there are those who do relatively little, yet every small task feels heavy. The difference is not strength. The difference is discipline. When the heart knows why it is doing something, when the mind is trained to remain focused, when the soul is anchored in purpose, the body follows with energy. But when the heart is confused, the mind is scattered, and the soul is disconnected, even small tasks feel like mountains. The truth is, we are not tired, we are undisciplined, we are living with habits that drain us instead of habits that elevate us. We jump from one distraction to another, filling our time but not our purpose. We want results without consistency, achievement without sacrifice, growth without effort. And then we tell ourselves the story of fatigue, but tiredness from meaningful effort is different. When you are tired because you worked for something that matters to you, that tiredness itself feels fulfilling. It carries a sense of honor. You can sleep peacefully after such a day. But the tiredness that comes from undisciplined living feels heavy, frustrating, restless. It does not refresh, it suffocates. We must remind ourselves that discipline is not punishment. Discipline is mercy. Discipline is structure for the soul. It is alignment between what we know is right and what we choose to do. Discipline is waking up for prayer even when sleep feels heavy. Discipline is opening the Quran when your phone is calling you instead. Discipline is stopping yourself from arguing when silence is more dignified. Discipline is choosing purpose over impulse. It is not easy at first, but nothing meaningful begins easy. Ease comes after commitment, and here is something important: the body follows the heart. If the heart feels connected to Allah, then waking up for prayer is no longer a battle. If the heart finds meaning in worship, then worship becomes nourishment, not burden. If the heart finds peace in remembrance, then remembrance becomes home. So before we say, "I am tired," we need to ask, what am I feeding my heart? What am I feeding my soul? What am I prioritizing? If discipline is missing, it is because we have allowed life to be led by emotion instead of purpose, by mood instead of principle. But the moment we choose to be consistent, even in small ways, everything begins to shift. The mind becomes clearer. The heart becomes lighter. The soul becomes calmer, and the body follows with renewed strength. You are not weak. You are not incapable. You are not tired. You simply haven't aligned your actions with the truth your soul already knows. When we speak about discipline, it is not about doing something grand in a single moment, nor is it about sudden transformation. It is about the small actions that are done again and again, even when no one sees, even when there is no applause, even when the world is silent. Consistency is what shapes us. It is easy to feel inspired for a moment, to feel a surge of motivation and say, "I will change, I will rise, I will do better." But inspiration without consistency fades quickly. It is like a spark, bright for a second, then gone. What truly changes a person is not a spark. It is a flame that is fed every day. The greatest journeys in life are not walked in leaps, but in steps. And the soul already knows this. The soul knows that growth takes time, patience, and repetition. The difficulty comes from the mind that wants instant results, from the ego that wants recognition, from the heart that sometimes wants ease over effort. So the struggle is not with the task, the struggle is with ourselves. But when we choose to take small steps every day, we are not just building habits, we are building identity. We are telling our soul, "I am committed, I am here, I am willing." There is power in doing something even when you do not feel like it. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, the soul becomes stronger. Every time you choose focus over distraction, the mind becomes sharper. Every time you choose purpose over impulse, the heart becomes calmer. And once you continue consistently, your desires begin to align with your values. What once felt difficult begins to feel natural. What once felt heavy begins to feel necessary. You start wanting the things that make you better. But consistency does not mean perfection. There will be days when you slip, days when you feel weak, days when your mind is tired. That is part of the journey. The soul does not need you to be perfect. The soul only needs you to return. To try again, to realign, to keep walking. What destroys progress is not failure, and it is giving up after failure. One moment of weakness does not erase the strength built over time unless we choose to let it. The key is to stand back up with humility, without self-criticism, without losing trust in yourself. And understand this: consistent action gains its power when it is connected to meaning. When you know why you are waking up early, why you are praying on time, why you are guarding your heart from distractions, why you are controlling your impulses, that is when discipline becomes effortless. When you see your actions as a conversation with Allah, you stop seeking validation from people. When you see your effort as a form of worship, you no longer see it as struggle. You see it as growth, as elevation, as becoming closer to who you were always meant to be. The soul calls you to consistency because the soul knows that transformation does not happen in one moment. It happens quietly, gradually, in the spaces of your everyday choices. It happens when you choose meaning over mood, devotion over distraction, foundation over impulse. The soul knows that what you repeat, you become. And when your repetition is in remembrance, in discipline, in effort for Allah's sake, then you become someone whose heart is anchored, whose mind is steady, whose strength is real. Small steps, repeated with sincerity, that is how the soul returns to peace. Discipline is often mistaken for something harsh, something restrictive, something that takes away comfort and ease. But in reality, true discipline is one of the greatest gifts you can give your soul, because discipline is not just about routine, it is about alignment. It is about aligning your actions with what your heart already knows is right. When your discipline is rooted in faith, when it grows from the truth of Laillahaillaiah, it stops feeling like pressure and starts feeling like peace. It becomes a way of living that brings clarity, direction, and meaning to every moment of your life. There are many people who are disciplined in worldly pursuits. They wake up early for work, they train their bodies, they chase goals with intensity. Yet, even with that discipline, something inside remains unsettled. This is because discipline without spiritual purpose becomes empty. It may build success, but it does not build peace. It may build reputation, but it does not build the heart. And the heart is the center of everything. When the heart is not aligned, the entire life feels scattered. But when the heart is disciplined for the sake of Allah, everything else finds its place. Your work becomes a form of worship because your intention is pure. Your patience becomes easier because you know who is in control. Your sacrifices feel meaningful because they are tied to eternity, not just moments. When your discipline is guided by faith, you begin to live with gentleness, with awareness, with a sense of being held by something greater. You are no longer simply reacting to life. You are living with purpose. Think about prayer. When you pray just because you have to, it may feel repetitive or heavy. But when you pray because your heart recognizes that this is the moment it returns home, prayer becomes nourishment. It becomes oxygen. What changed? Not the prayer, the intention, the alignment. When discipline is tied to faith, the same action carries a different weight. The same routine becomes a source of strength, and this alignment does not require you to be perfect. It requires sincerity. It requires returning again and again, even if you have fallen. The soul does not ask you to be flawless. The soul asks you to be honest, to be sincere, to show up, to keep choosing Allah, even when your desires pull you elsewhere. That is real discipline. It is not overpowering your soul. It is listening to it. It is not suppressing yourself. It is returning to your true self. The more your discipline aligns with faith, the more your life becomes simple, not because problems disappear, but because your heart stops fighting itself. You no longer live in conflict between what you believe and what you do. You become one indivisible being, moving with clarity. This is where peace begins. This is where the soul rests. Every moment you choose Allah over distraction, every moment you choose consistency over impulse, every moment you choose patience over reaction, you are stitching your soul back together. You are stepping into who you were always meant to be. The body may feel tired sometimes, yes, but the heart becomes stronger. The mind becomes sharper, the soul becomes still. You begin to live with a kind of quiet confidence, not in yourself, but in the one who holds you. Align your actions with what your soul already whispers. ****, La ilaha illallah. ****.